that, power should be reestablished to the broadcasting system. Yep, lights on and steady. That's a good sign. Woo! Great work, Ollie. Gold star. Rebuilt the whole radio tower with nothing but a multi-tool and a user manual with less information than an IKEA assembly guide. Oh, well, thank you, Oliver. It's really nice of you to be so supportive in this difficult time. God, I really need to get that radio working before I go completely stir crazy and start making up new friends. Alright, I guess I should get in touch with the chief and let him know I'm still alive. Oh, whoops. I guess I forgot to turn it off after the last broadcast. Alright, well, I guess you all just heard me talking to myself, so, hello, Meeville Valley. It's me, Oliver, still up at the old broadcast station north of Meeville City. Broadcasting today in response to Chief Cliff Robertson, who reached out over the radio shortly after my last broadcast. Mic on the radio is still broken, so all I could do is listen to him and the other dozen or so survivors who needed to inform me that my pronunciation of Meeville was incorrect. During my last broadcast, I was saying Myville. Apparently it's Meeville. My apologies. Thank you all for letting me know. The world is a much better place now because of it. Back to the chief. Per your request, I've estimated the plateau to be approximately 200 feet by 80 feet or so. I can't really vouch for the accuracy of those measurements since it's just kind of based on the size of my shoes. The main fire tower is off-center with the majority of it being on the southern half of the plateau attached to the radio tower. The landing pad is on the northern half, but as I mentioned before, there's a toppled helicopter sitting on top of it. I tried to push the helicopter out of the way, but as it turns out, helicopters are very heavy. I apologize for it taking so long. I know you talked to me about 5 days ago. But the solar panels only charge so fast, and with me running the AC and refrigerator up here, I guess it's taking up some much needed radio broadcasting power. But I do have a solution for that. I'm not really much of an electrical engineer. Like barely know the first thing about connecting wires. I can connect the shapes and plug the HDMI ports in, but I did find a slight solution. I managed to reroute the DC load through a bypass converter to isolate the power inverter from the main battery bank, then decouple the MPPT charge controller from the living quarters circuit, creating a dedicated bus bar for the radio station. Had to bridge a ground wire to the negative terminal using a relay switch and set up a dual output configuration on the combiner box to stabilize voltage fluctuations, so the radio tower now has its own power supply and should charge a little faster. Basic stuff I think just about anybody should be able to pull off. Yeah, I think that pretty much covers it. Not really much space up here now to land a helicopter. The battery should charge a little faster so I can run the radio more frequently. CB radio still doesn't have a microphone, so I can only hear. And yeah, I think that covers everything you asked for. So feel free to send help ASAP. Thank you. Well, still got a lot of battery life, and I'm really not looking forward to just going back to talking to myself and sitting in silence. But there really isn't a whole lot left to say. How about that weather out there, huh? It's about 120 degrees up here up on the plateau. Without the AC, I think I'd just melt. I can't really imagine how you all are surviving down there. I don't think you guys even have power. Oh, there is actually something that's worth mentioning. I did break into the basement of the fire tower just earlier this week. Do you know busting through a door with an axe is a lot tougher than they make it look like in the films? I mean, I just kind of assumed that sharp things would make light work of wood doors, but as it turns out, it's not easy. I don't know if it was reinforced or something, but either way, that's beside the point. It turns out that whoever was here before was really into their entertainment, or more than likely just prepping for something like what has occurred here, just at the end of the world apocalypse. The whole entire basement is just stacked from floor to roof with old movies, books, and just dozens of hard drives. Uh, there's like a complete library down there, as if somebody asked, like, what would you bring with you to the deserted island, and the response was just the library, or specifically the zombie horror section of the library, because ironically, most of what I found down there so far has been completely zombie based. I found everything Romero's ever done, everything Fulci's ever done. There's all the 28 franchise films down there, and a whole lot of unlabeled DVDs that make me very nervous. There's black and white films, VHS, vinyl records, cassette tapes, DVDs, Blu-rays, just everything I could think of. Books, comics, it's endless. There's a computer down there connected to all the hard drives, but I can't really access it right now because it's password protected. And I don't know the first thing about hacking a computer. Could just be more movies, music, who knows. But I do have my laptop, so I could probably find a way to connect all those hard drives to my laptop at some point. That's going to require a lot of extra connectors and figuring out how to rewire things, which takes a lot of time. But I guess I have a lot of free time right now, so maybe I'll explore those options tomorrow. Yeah, whoever lived here was definitely in it for the long haul. Kind of makes me wonder if they saw all this coming, you know. And yesterday I was digging through some of the DVDs and I found the first season of In the Flesh. It's not really like your typical zombie movie. In the Flesh is a British series that's set after the zombie apocalypse, after humanity has already found a cure for the zombie disease, and they've been focusing a lot of their time and efforts on curing the rabid zombies, which they're calling rotters. If they're rabid, PDS sufferers if they're cured, uh, partial deceased syndrome sufferers. So yeah, in this one, instead of just endless waves of flesh eaters, you get a real emotional social exploration of what it's like after the war is already over and you're trying to recover. You have a lot of people who are just settling back into lives and trying to get over everything they've lost, and then you also have all these people in recovery facilities who are trying to get over everything they've done, because even though they're cured of the zombie virus, they still have memories of everything they've done as a zombie. So they all have memories of eating people, tearing people apart, just wandering aimlessly in massive hordes. And so the story picks up with Kieran Walker. He's a former rotter who's recently gone through therapy and treatments and is now qualified for returning home back to his family. And while he's not super thrilled about the idea because he doesn't feel like he's ready, he's still going through memories, and the doctors are telling him, that's good because it means that his brain is reforming connections, and the fact that he can start remembering things is a sign of a good healthy brain. But he feels he needs the therapy to really recover from everything that he's witnessed and everything that he's done, and just trying to get over the emotions of coming to terms with it. His family's extraordinarily excited to get him back. Well, his mother and father are. His sister less so, which you do find out why much later in the series. It's a 3 episode series, so it's not like super deep into it. Each episode I think is about 45 minutes to an hour. So yeah, this killed a good afternoon. So while his parents are excited to have him back, The town that he comes from isn't extraordinarily excited. It's got a lot of mixed feelings about whether or not they want these rotters or PDS sufferers back. There are some who are happy to accept them, and others. There's the group called the HVF, the Human Volunteer Force, and during the war, they were like the local militia that would hunt down the rotters and take them out and defend the town. And now that the PDS sufferers are coming back from the treatment facilities, the HVF is not extraordinarily accepting of them. There is a pretty tough scene where Bill Macy, he's the head of the HVF. Oh, I probably shouldn't spoil it in case you want to go down to your local library and just loot yourself a copy, uh, assuming the library hasn't been burnt down or completely overrun with zombies yet. Um, let's just say there is a scene in which Bill Macy makes his disapproval of the PDS sufferers very well known. Bill is especially hostile towards PDS sufferers, and he's really not shy about it. He's pretty trigger happy at times, and he's completely convinced that the cured rotters are just ticking time bombs, waiting to restart the apocalypse. And then with the HVF, there's also the local vicar, like the local priest, and during his sermons, he's always preaching about how PDS sufferers are abominations against God, that they're against the natural order of things for the dead to be walking, because while they are alive, well, they're while they are undead, while they're up and they're walking around, they're not really alive. They don't eat. They don't. I don't think they breathe. They're seen sleeping, but they don't die. They don't age, and so the vicar is just preaching that they are abominations. And a lot of what he says is designed to fuel hatred and fear, and just creates a significant degree of tension for Kieran and the others like him. And everything he says, it really hit close to home, because it's a lot of what you hear in politics before the dead started rising again. Things that you hear in politics that generally relate to like minority groups, like immigrants and the LGBT. Words that are generally used to like demonize and dehumanize and just make enemies of those that you don't like or don't really understand. Like a lot of misinformation is passed around about Kieran and PDS sufferers, designed to rile the masses against them, to convince people to shun and reject them, even react like violently towards them. And a lot of that rhetoric is very reminiscent of the things that we used to hear just on a daily basis through the news and through social media, and just all over the place before the collapse. And let's face it, it's a lot of stuff that you still hear in smaller communities and groups. Is that a helicopter? Oh my god, it is. Hold on. Huh. Um, okay. Uh, Chief Robertson, um, I regret to inform you that the man you sent had a faulty parachute. My condolences. He did not make it. So, as I was saying, In the Flesh really stands out in the zombie genre as an emotional exploration of the social and political aspects of reintegrating people who, well, admittedly did some very terrible things. But the show makes it quite clear that PDS sufferers had no control over their actions while they were sick and could not stop no matter how hard they tried. So while they are the ones who performed the actions and they're the ones who had the memories, it wasn't them in control of their own bodies. And beyond just telling a really, really good story that had me completely tearing up at the end, In the Flesh made me take a step back and look at everything going on in our own little zombie apocalypse and kind of made me wonder what happens if we find a cure? What happens if these zombies, these monsters that we've come to fear, can actually recover and return to society to live alongside us again? And In the Flesh kind of gives you that sort of uplifting sort of hope in a weird sort of way. Like, what if all the people that we've lost to this apocalypse could come back? And would you want them back, knowing what you know they've done and them remembering everything that they have done? Would they want to come back, or would it just be like a living hell for them? Could we ever see them as anything more than monsters? And would we be able to forgive them and let them back into our lives? You know, In the Flesh shows a world that tries, but here, I'm not sure. All I know is I'd rather be a Steve Walker than a Bill Macy. Oh, Steve Walker, by the way, was Kieran's father, who was completely open and accepting of him and had an extraordinarily emotional story at the end. Oh, oh, well, I'm sorry, Chief. I think your guy came back. All right, well, the batteries are almost dead anyway, so I think I'm going to go ahead and just shut down broadcast so you guys don't have to hear this. Stay safe out there. Aim for the head. Don't get bit. Loot yourself a copy of In the Flesh Season 1. If I'm lucky, I'll find Season 2 soon. Oh, and by the way, the housing development on the west side of Neville is on fire. It doesn't look like it's jumped over the river just yet, so maybe the rest of the city should be fine, but that's something you should probably keep a lookout for anyway. Just be safe. I'll catch you when the batteries are charged. Ciao.